All right.
JR, can our fans hear what's going on? Are we on
Yes, they
live?
can now. Yes, you're live
Okay,
now.
we are
Yep.
live. We just can't hear
Welcome to a
JR.
pinch of basil, right?
Yeah, welcome to a pinch of basil. If it can go wrong, well, damn it, it will go wrong, and we are proud of that. We admit to our mistakes and our issues. While Jr. says, you know what, man, I'm going to have myself a cocktail during this thing, and we all know what
Yeah.
alcohol can do. The mind is a terrible thing. Let us not forget that. Hey, first of all, welcome to a pinch of basil. I am your wonderful host with the most. I am Basil, and I am here with my wonderful co-hostess Janice Hermson, and of course, our muted engineer and co-host. Thank God, J.R. Quitman. And you know what, folks? The hell with the rest of my tour and what's going on. We usually have a 15-minute buffer before we bring up our guests, but we're so happy you're here. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Orlando Jones, welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you kidding me? I was looking forward to this because I'm still a touring comic and I tour all over the world. I do it in Greek and in English, and I have so many of my friends of mine who are comics, and they're like, "Dude, you're having Orlando Jones. Oh my God, dude, how did you do that?" And I said, "Well, give it to the muted engineer, Jr. Really did a hell of a job, and I'm so happy that you're here with us, man. Thank you so much."
Not at all, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, I got so many questions I got to ask you.
Okay.
And first of all, I got a chance to do a little bit of background, searches because I usually don't do that unless I like someone or I'm interviewing them. And I happen to do both. I love your work. I love everything you do, to be quite honest with you. And we'll get from stuff that you did in the past to stuff that you did currently and stuff that you're working on today, as long as you can talk about it. But I got to ask, first of all, you were born in Alabama
Mhm.
and Mobile, Alabama, and you moved over to South Carolina, and I
Mhm.
live in North Carolina, in Wilmington, North Carolina, and you went to the College of Charleston. And did you do any sketch comedy back then, back in the day when you were in college? Did you do any type of stand up back then, anything, or go into entertainment?
No, no.
Not at all.
A couple plays at the theater, but that was it. Only working out of the theater, out of Dock House Professional Theater, and then College of Charleston's theater there. So that was it.
Did you? I mean, when did you really start doing stand up?
um, I think that was more around 2007 or 2008 or something. It was my manager at the time had really wanted me to do stand up. It had always been a request. Honestly, just trying to fit it into the schedule wasn't my favorite thing. And honestly, everybody who was doing stand up was trying to get a job doing what I was doing. So there was really no incentive.
Yeah, you already cut the line, right? Yeah.
So I was like, that's interesting. And when I get around to it, we made a deal that she would pick a date on the calendar and that I would go do stand up on that date and we wouldn't cancel it and what have you. And she did, and I did. And that's how I started doing stand up.
And which I think every comic that's watching right now is loving that, and because I think you're just naturally hysterically funny. It's the look, it's the expressions, it's the attitude, it's everything. When you started doing Mad TV, I mean that got you into sketch comedy, basically. Did you really get into it? Were you nervous about it? How did you really start making your move?
Um, well, I mean, I obviously had been a performer before. I had an advertising agency when I was 18 years old. So I was, I was busy, and I'd already been writing on A Different World, and I'd co-written the pilot of Ben Stiller and Rock Live and what have you. So I was a very successful writer, producer in Hollywood before I was on Mad TV. So I was really the only one that had any real experience, because the behind the scenes experience of Hollywood is very different than the in front of the camera scene. So for me, it was always like, here's the actors and they know what they know, but I spent my time as a writer producer. So it was a completely different experience. And I know all the lies they tell the actors. So doing Mad TV was adorable often, because I would be like, oh, that's cute, but that's not how that works. But, thanks for mentioning it, I guess. I mean, whatever. So, and I left the show after 2 years, largely because it was fun to get to do the characters and to write on the show. But whenever you're in a situation where you're both a writer and a producer, that means when you're in the writer's room and the writers are all complaining about how the actors are messing up their work, you can't say anything. And when you're in the rehearsal hall and the actors are all complaining that the writers suck, you can't say anything.
No, it's very true. Yeah, it's got to be very difficult.
So I was, because that was my position on that show, because I was the only one in both chairs, everybody says something and they look at you like, you got something you want to add to this? And I'm like, no, I don't have anything to add to this hot mess. But after a couple of years of that, I was happy to move on out of it. But I didn't do a lot of work on Mad TV. That's the funny part. I was on it for 2 years, but it wasn't, I had fun doing it, but I didn't really do that much in the 2-year period I was there, and then I was gone.
When you wound up from producing to directing to being executive producer to acting to, what's your favorite of all the things that are available to you? What was the one thing that kind of turns you on? Because I know what turns on, JR, and we'll talk about that, because there is a couple of movies that we were discussing earlier. But because I think that your acting is brilliant. And I really, but I love funny acting too. And it's not the easiest thing to be funny on camera, because you don't get that instamatic bam laughter or whatever. It's funny. And if you have that internal timing and and I kind of do with me personally, I know if something's funny, if it comes across. But what do you like best? What's your favorite thing, man? What makes your nipples hard, if you don't mind?
How dare you say?
Yeah, well, I don't, listen, I knew JR would get upset if I didn't say that.
I don't know how to separate them out that way. They're largely all the same thing to me. They have different beginnings and they require different skill sets, but by and large, we're just talking about telling a story. And how one goes about doing that largely has to do with who's the audience they're talking to, and a myriad of other factors that I won't bore you with now. So I kind of see them, as very intertwined, because in the entertainment business, in truth, it takes a village. It's a team that makes that happen, so that this delusion that James Cameron is responsible for Avatar is interesting, but thousands of visual effects artists are responsible for the visuals of that film. In a way that he is not at all, because he wasn't sitting at the terminal making those things happen. So do we discount all of that and say that this is the sole source of that creativity, or are we honest about the collaborative effort that is film and television in the way that it is? So, to me, it's always been a collaboration. That's kind of the fun of it, the joy of it in many ways. And the business of it is a completely different thing. So, and it behaves at different ways on different levels. So that's a whole nother discussion, but it's something that you have to contend with. So,
and unfortunately, I guess the one thing that the audience never sees is the collaborative effort that it takes. They will sit there and go, oh yeah, the director did this and the director did that, and I wish the actor would have done this. But the hundreds of people that are on set and in the studio and creating all the things necessary in with Cameron using
you
that
see
for the
when it
example.
works, because it's a team win in truth, right? So when it
Mhm.
works, you do see it, right? Because we all celebrate it, so you see it when it works. But it works for different reasons, right? It doesn't work just because nobody found it or watched it, right? That's not the real reason. It's just, what are we calling success? That it won awards, that it made a lot of money, that it got made and it resonated with audiences, even though it was only this. Like, the metric for success is individual, right? And everyone
Mhm.
tries to pretend it's unilateral and that we all agree on it, but we don't all agree on what success is. And
Oh,
so,
God knows.
right. So
God knows.
because of that, I think it's just kind of all muddled up. But I've seen incredible things that people would say were not successful, but for me were transformative, right? As an artist, right? And I don't look at that art any less than I look at something, at Superman, which people tell me is fabulous, but I mean, entertaining enough to watch, but certainly not cinema. And they haven't made a good Superman movie in God knows how long. Like, what, are you serious?
Yeah. No.
They're making the same movie over and over and over again. So
Right.
it's not, that's not, look, I'm an artist, right? And cavemen didn't paint on walls because they were decorating. They were trying to make sure the chartreuse and red matched together. That rock is so out of place. They were communicating the human condition, for those they were leaving behind. And so for me, art is communication. So it's talking about those things that critical communication that's important for future generations. That's what art really is, right?
Mhm.
And then there's wallpaper, right? Which is fine to look at, super pretty, but not art. So there's lots of wallpaper around and no one's mad at wallpaper, but art has a process and a product. That process of where it came from is often what makes it art, right? And
Very
that
true.
product together, it's the two, not one without the other. So if what you like is wallpaper, goody for you. I like art. So it is what that artist is trying to communicate that I'm most interested in, because the diversity of voices, even though it is so limited, that I was able to witness throughout my life, created the artist that I am. It was Nina Simone and James Baldwin, but it was a microcosm of these, male, female, LGBTQ plus trans artists who didn't give two fucks about all these categories that people have created and simply, put their story out there as artists. And for me, that was powerful and transformative. So I see it as that. And then I see there's a business that you have to contend with that. But I'm usually focused on just trying to maintain some level of artistry so that, it's worth something to somebody and not just wallpaper.
Well, yeah, if you ever want to see someone take wallpaper off a wall, I'm your guy, because I am the king.
That's high cotton right there. If you don't mind, I'm gonna give my mama your phone number. Now, don't give me I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Okay, but she'll change the wallpaper every other week just because, just for a different look. But that's on you if you want to do that. I want no part of it. I told her to lose my number, but she reminded me she was my mama, and so now we got into that fight. But I'm gonna give her your number, and if you have my permission to put on blackface and pretend to be me.
I don't know if I could do that, man, because I'd be offending
Right,
myself.
that's too far. That's too far. Ignore that.
That's a different. Yeah, that's some different. That's some other stuff right there.
Oh, man, you came back on. You're on, JR.
Hey, I'm hip. Hey, I'm back.
Hey, you're hip
No,
and beautiful.
let's go. Let me jump in. I got a question for you. So, like, it caught my attention. It blew my mind. You had your own ad agency at 18.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that come about?
I was doing industrial films in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, predominantly, and on industrial films, you see the same crew. It's the same 5-6 people, and I had was hired as a consultant for a project that the state of South Carolina was trying to do to reach young teenagers that were my age. So I got hired as a consultant on that job. And I was sitting in the office about 6 months later, and I'd made about, I'd done well. Made like $5,000, and I thought I was rich. And I was looking at the budgets for the ideas that I had pitched them. One was 3.2 million, one was 2.7 million, and one was 2.9 million. And it occurred to me that the $5,000 that I had been paid was a lot of money to me, but wasn't commensurate to what a consultant might have normally been paid for the creative work that I had done on that campaign. So I went to a attorney friend, and he incorporated me, and I took those commercials that I had made with them, and I went around and started pitching my services to various companies, and I got hired by Food Lion and Furniture Fair and Mazda and in the state of South Carolina and a few others. And
now you're 18 at this time. You're 18, 19 years old?
18, 19. And then I got a job writing on A Different World. So I moved out to California and was writing on that show. And then while I was writing on that show, I got the McDonald's account. And so I was in the McDonald's McJordan special. And then I went and did that campaign. And it sort of laid the foundation for, winning the first virtual reality Emmy with my company and winning all the branding, advertising awards I've won later, 7-Up and what have you. So it sort of laid that foundation then, and it kind of continued, I guess.
Wow. Like, it's blowing my mind, you being 18, 19, 20 and all this happening. So you must have been doing stuff long before that, though, to be able to have this business acumen and everything at 18, 19 to see this vision that you wanted and go for it like that. I guess what I'm asking is where did that come from? I guess your upbringing, where, your parents, or what did you see? Where did that side, your business mind, come from?
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, to me, you don't have to be a genius to understand you got fucked. I mean,
but you're 18. I mean,
some of my fan base may not take issue with that.
Look,
that's true.
I'm from the South, okay? And any poor redneck, white man or black man will tell you, he might not sound like a rocket scientist, but that don't make him a fool because he don't sound like he came from Harvard or wherever. So I'm from the South, right? Sure. So there's always an assumption that goes along with things, right? I know that because I'm a Southerner, right? And I know that assumption don't just apply to black folk, applies to white folk, it just applies to having an accent in the damn South, just the way it works, right? They think we all imbeciles. So, but I was paying attention, and it wasn't hard to see that there was, over $10 million worth of business on a wall that I was directly responsible for. And not knowing any better, I'd accepted $5,000, which was a great payday. But it was clear to me that if I could sell my ideas and people would buy them, that I would much rather be in a higher portion of that pool than be in the portion of the pool that I was. And the people that I was working with were hiring the same people that I was working with anyway. So it's the same 5 people.
Right.
So where did the money go? It didn't take a rocket scientist, right?
Right.
So they were looking at me like I was a kid, and I was looking at them like, y'all made bank on this situation.
Let me get
something. I told that story to someone who I knew and trusted, a mentor, and he said, well, if you really want to do something about it, you should take that reel of ads that you were directly responsible for and go sell your wares. And I said, that makes sense. So we did that. I did that. I closed business, and suddenly I had an agency. And next thing I knew, I was in Hollywood writing on situation comedies. And next thing I knew, I was starring in movies. And suddenly guys who had spent 15, 20 years on a comedy club were furious that I was even being considered.
Wow.
Because I didn't come from their world.
You didn't pay your dues.
I didn't pay my dues.
Yeah, but sometimes, and I have no bitterness towards anyone. They happen to be at the right place at the right time, and they happen to be there, and they had the right talent in front of the right people, and that was it. And
but it's a different talent. Like, they don't understand, like, later on in their careers, when they got famous and people say that they're the writer and the producer, they're not really the writer and the producer, because they didn't have to come through the trenches and do that job for real. Mm-hmm. They're that celebrity writer and producer where you get that credit and that love and nobody gets in your face about nothing. I had to come through the trenches for real. I had to take all them lumps for real. Nobody was cutting me any slack. They had to fire my black ass at any given point. So, it was, I had to work my way through that. I had to learn how to really write and produce for television for real, right? Then to manage the politics of just being on Mad TV was a nightmare. But I had to learn how to get through all those things, right? And often my allies were women. It wasn't men, because they're the same ones dealing with the uneven slope in the system and people who were making assumptions about them simply because they were women. So most of my allies in the business were that, right? The dudes was the one stabbing me in the back. It was a crazy ecosystem to try and figure out how to work through, but it was the reality that I was in. And I was grateful, because if it wasn't for the Deborah Alls and Susan Fales and all the ladies in the world who were like, that guy's not an asshole and he really cares about his work, who protected me, I never would have made it through. Cindy Allen is a mentor to me today. I'm actually show running a project for her, and I laugh. She calls me her son, and that's true, because I grew up under the tutelage of the Debbie Allens of the world, right? Those were the ladies that looked out for me.
Right.
Did you ever, is there anyone that you worked with in the past that you would say, man, I'd really would like to work with them again, because they were that mentor. They were someone that I could really do a project with and kick it, and do something that's magnificent because of their vision and yours. I mean,
there are very few people who I've worked with who I recall having a horrible experience with, because I just tried to recognize that they were just people. And, I do a joke where I say, I don't give offense, you take offense. That's not, I'm not really included in the decision-making process. I threw jerk face in the air. You claimed it as your own. I wasn't talking to you, jerk face. I was just talking. So I felt that way often, right?
Yeah.
That was the scenario that I was in, but that wasn't what I was trying to do. But that didn't stop me from doing that often, apparently.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Despite my lack of intent, I somehow managed to infuriate somebody. Silliness.
Damn shame.
But I guess what I learned more than anything is people mostly care about themselves. There's a real narcissism to it.
For sure.
And if you can move yourself out of the way as an artist, if you can try and see the others in the room, if you can try and find the rhythm that works for everybody, then it really does work for everybody. And if what you do is focus your attention elsewhere, then it really does feel like you're on an island and you can see it. It's what makes you watch it and turn your head sideways like a dog staring at a ceiling fan because something's not quite right and you don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so much the power of what happens when you get a bunch of different people in a room, because there are so many different diverse voices in the room to be like, hey, that signals this to me. It signals that to you. But this is, it helps you shape a voice that's more universal. It's the lack of those voices in the room that allows you to fall on your face and really make an ass of yourself often. So, I always felt like, but if the attention is on who got here and how they got here, then we're not even talking about the work. We're talking about how somebody, like, why do you even care? Like, that's what you're mad about today. But I found that was a lot of what it was, but I always thought it was funny. So, and I like it if you're talking about me, because if you're talking about me, then it means you like me.
There it is.
But there's got to be some egos in the room that you just want to say, shut up. I am done with you. I can't stand you, because there are a lot of times in our business, I pitch shows. I do a lot of things, and there are times when someone just wants to squash your idea, has no idea what the hell they're talking about. And I deal with
sometimes if somebody wants to squash your idea and they know exactly what they want, right? So sometimes they want to squash your idea, but they know what they want.
But you ask them, what are you looking for exactly?
Sometimes they can convey that. Sometimes they can't.
Or they know it when they see it or hear it.
Right.
Different creatives work different ways. Nobody
True.
has a universal system. So I just try not to get in the way of that. That's not, look, when I'm on a job and I'm acting, I really want to know why, what was the story you wanted to tell, right? That's really what I want to know.
Right.
So that I can attempt to create a character that is in keeping with the story that you're trying to tell, right? When I'm producing something, I don't see it the same way. I'm more concerned with trying to make sure that a diverse number of voices get an opportunity to craft and shape the story. And I'm more concerned that the people on the story feel that they are protected and can contribute their skill set without being attacked, right? And protecting all of that and the egos is the job to get the thing produced, right? So that's a different job. Very, 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 very different job. Writer, different thing altogether. Who am I writing it for? Who hired me to do this job? Who is the audience we're speaking to? What's the difference between what the studio wants to make and what the network wants to broadcast, right?
Very true.
Very different. So being a professional means your ability to navigate those muddy waters, right? That's what the real job is. If it was just about acting, anybody would do it. But there's all sorts of other things that go into it. So I look at it, those things in that way, but I try not to get frustrated by those things from afar. I just try and manage those things when you're in them because that's the job, right? You're right. It's hard, right? But
sure,
that's why everybody can't do it. That's why most people suck at it because you got to put you aside. You do not have a choice. This person is telling you they got problem X and they want it solved now.
No, you're right.
Right?
You're right. Yeah.
And you think they want to hear about your problem? They ain't trying to hear your problem. You put that to bed, son. I need this now in order to do the thing that you're asking me to do. How you going to get me the thing I asked you to get me so I can do the thing you asked me to do? Because this is your problem. This ain't my problem. That's 300 people. And they ain't going to sit and argue with you. So for me, that's the job of a professional. Whereas I believe the belief system is, I'm in charge. And I've now handed down meetings. This is what you will all do moving forward on my command. And I'm like, oh. That's not what it is at all. And sometimes you're in a situation where there is a Steve Jobs, where the board and everyone has decided that this is the vision that we're going with. All be damned. And when that person starts talking, be quiet and follow instructions and stop trying to insert your vision. That will get your neck, throat, like split,
sure.
like quick. And if you ain't got sense enough to know that, then you ain't gonna never survive in Hollywood, Lord Jesus, because they shoot you in the face just for making a face while somebody's talking. Wow. Because they want you focused.
So, yeah, you got to be just absolute.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
on doing the thing that they want you to do.
Yeah, got you.
No two ways.
Do what I asked you to do.
Yeah.
So
where would you
job? I like to do that job, and when that's not the job, I try and approach it differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
Where would you rather be doing this from? Would you rather be doing this from LA, or would you rather be doing this from something a little bit laid back? Let's say the Carolinas.
The location is not exactly important to me. I'd rather be doing it in close proximity to my children. If I'm being honest, that's first order of business. If I'm saying where do I work, the price of the ticket is that you're going to travel to different locations by which to capture that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's impossible for me to remove that from what it is. So I accept the travel that goes along with it. I really don't think of it. And I guess that I should say not what I don't think of it, but how I do think of it. I think of it like this. If I go on a job and we have a great time and the final product sucks, I'm furious. I'm furious. If I go on a job and it's work, man, but the final product is, I'm happy. There's stages to it. Oh, you got the job. Yay, but that's not really important. Oh, you did the job. You did the work. Yay, but that's not really important. It got edited and cut this way. Yay, that's hopefully important because that's the story. It got marketed this way. Yay, hopefully that's important because maybe they hit the audience or maybe they didn't. But either way, it's those last stages that define everything, right? You get judged on what that final work was. You had no say over the cut, and what you did on the day and what the final product is could be wholly unrelated. That's just the nature of the product, right? So in that process, I'm not thinking about location. I'm not thinking about any of that stuff. I'm too focused on trying to capture the thing, right? Because I live in the Carolinas and because this is the third oldest film community in North America, I think that there are tremendous benefits to just filming in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. I think there are tremendous benefits if you tell stories that are more indigenous to North Carolina that draw more people to North Carolina. And if you built content and incentives that way, I know that would be better for North Carolina because we were driving tourism to Sleepy Hollow while we were filming it here, but tourists were flocking to Sleepy Hollow in droves. Even though Breaking Bad's a drug show, people flocked to New Mexico in droves to that location. So we know it builds tourism and commerce when you tell stories that are indigenous to an area. So in that sense, I obviously I like indigenous stories that do that. But as a storyteller, it's important and powerful to go to those places to tell those stories for the commerce that it drives to those communities. But also, if done properly, you really do capture something that's special about that area and those folk, and that's part of the artistry, right? To capture Fargo, North Dakota, the way that you do in that film.
Sure, absolutely,
is special.
Have you ever, because of who you are and your fantastic talent, have you ever just said someone offered you a gig and said, we want you to do this, and because it could be the director, it could be the producers, it could be who's editing, that you just didn't want to do it and told them no? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, because I know how I feel when I say, oh, fuck you, I'm not coming on that set. I'm not doing that. Have you ever? Well, you don't say it in that way. I'm just, right? Yeah, I'm just saying it in a nice way. F you. I'm just.
Well, I guess I'm like, it ain't in my best interest to do that because, I'm not looking for a fight. So I'm not trying to show up and fight just to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't need it. So if I think that something's left, I just try and step away from it. Right. Mm-hmm. Even though there are sometimes people who I would love to work with on a project, but I just am like, I don't want to fight. I want to do the thing, but I don't want to.
Well, you want to create your art, like you said. You want to be able to do what you do and do
what you hired me to do, and maybe that's creating your art. But either way, I don't want to fight.
Right.
Life's too short, man.
You ain't got my money, and you're gonna start acting funny style, and you're gonna start disrespecting people on set, and it's gonna be all that, Michigas. You're gonna create a bunch of surahs to drop my Yiddish. Nah, homie. Like I'm not
the one.
What for? What powerful diminishing somebody else while we try and do creative work? Get out of here. I'm not about that life. That's not art for me.
Exactly. It's like
the opposite of art.
My bad.
You're right.
Jumping on you. My bad. But it's like the great Tupac said, it's I'm not a killer, but don't push me, right?
Listen, I'm
not looking for no problem. If they come, we can handle them.
People act like life is so cavalier, right? They talk about it like,
right.
Like it doesn't mean anything. And you not being here tomorrow doesn't matter to them, but it matters to somebody.
Yeah, you're right.
Races got loved ones too. I mean, and they got every right to be mad, just like you got every right to be mad. Everybody calm down here for a minute. So, I don't know. I'm mindful of that, man. I really am, because I feel like everybody got a family member that fits into some category that somebody don't like them. They're a homophobe, they're ageist.
Yeah, no, I definitely wasn't meaning it as in like.
No, I'm just joking.
The people listening at home like, damn, Jay, what the hell are you talking about?
That was my fault. I was
joking. Hey, it just caught my attention when you were mentioning your statement when you were mentioning you had said you've worked with some of the people, blah blah blah. You have worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
The Keanu Reeves, the Lawrence Fishburnes, the Gene Hackmans, the list could go on and on for sure. Are there any that you haven't been able to work with that you would
like to?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Name a couple.
I'm a Viola Davis. I'm a huge fan of.
Her voice. I love her voice.
I could go all over the place. I mean, there's Gary Oldman, who I'd love to, I'd like to see what Luc Besson is up to these days. There's Octavia Spencer and Taraji Henson and man. I mean, there's Meryl. I mean, how could you not want to do that? There's Frances McDormand. I'm upset that I never got to work with Lily Tomlin or any of those ladies who, were
comedy icons.
Those ladies that I grew up, laughing myself silly about. I missed all the Don Knotts and Tim Conways of the world. On the guy side, probably, there are a bunch of friends that we just kind of haven't gotten a chance to dance together. Cheadle and I haven't had a chance to play together.
That'd be great. Whatever that is, that would be great. Whatever that would be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a.
So the list definitely could just go on and on, literally.
Yeah, there's a lot of, what I'm saying. I mean, it's like just trying to, but I've been, I've been blessed at the same time. So, you try and, play with as many folk as you can. So, that, at least for me, particularly on certain types of projects, it's really fun. So I get a chance to enjoy it. So, and actually Adrian Brody and I reconnected now. So we're actually back on a project together, me, him, and Jason Segel. And Jason and Brody and I haven't worked together in 20 years. So we're actually doing the Laker project for HBO together. And it was just, we all kind of looked at each other. It was like, holy shit, we haven't been on a set together in 20 years. And here we are together again. So
I guess I want to ask as far as, I want to know what Hackman is like off camera. What's his personality like? That's one of the guys I always kind of dreamt that I would love to do a project with, because to me, he seems one of those guys. Let me do my line. I'm going back to my trailer.
Yeah. He's I really love that man. I had a special time with Hacky. Hacky's very real, man. So at the time he had just finished writing this book, his book is obviously a lot about the sea and his time spent, working on boats. And I used to do a character doing The Replacements, and his name was the Redneck. And the Redneck was this, in theory, he was like a football coach, but he was problematic. And he was very upset that affirmative action wasn't working for white people, and that it was creating this glutton of black people, and he wanted it to be shut down immediately. And I spent every day of the replacements entertaining Gene Hackman because he was the coach. So I spent every day on the replacements with the redneck torturing the coach for having too many black players. And so Hackman, and every time he would say something, I would go off about all these black players that he had and how he was a traitor. He had no respect for his brethren. And the very idea that he called himself a coach was an insult to coaching. So that was a daily thing with him. And we had a lot of fun. We went out to dinner together a lot. It was a special time, man. I learned so much from him on that film. And he was magnanimous and lovely in a way that he didn't have to be with me. But I love Hackman. And, people talk all this trash about Keanu, and I'll say this about K Hard, man. They brought him like this huge trailer when we were doing this movie, and he sent it back, and he was like, "Bring me the trailer like everybody else has, because either I'm gonna be a part of the team or I'm not gonna be a part of the team."
Very cool.
That's what's up, man.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? That's who Keanu is as a human, right?
Yeah.
So the same way in the film, when they didn't want to pay Hackman, Keanu was like, give him part of my salary. Let's do the same thing. He did the same thing for Lawrence on Matrix. So, it was being around people like that and having those sort of mentors at that time in my life when I was very new in the business that for me was very influential, because I think the reason we're all still around is because of that. So I'll tell you one fun story about Hackman. So when I first met Hackman, we were shooting the scene where we're doing, everybody's talking about their fears. And I think it's spiders is my fear.
Yeah, I remember this scene.
So we shoot Hackman out first because he's Gene Hackman, and then the rest of us get our coverage. So Hackman finishes shooting, and when he finishes his close-up, I come over to him and I go, "Hey, Mr. Hackman, I don't want to bother you or nothing, but are you going to do it like that? I mean, the way you just did it, is that how you're going to?" I shouldn't have said nothing. Anyway, sorry, Mr. Hackman, and I walk off, and he does not laugh, and he doesn't smile, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get fired. It's a wrap for me. That joke did not land at all." And then he hung around as we were filming. And I was like, "Wow, oh, okay." So we shoot the scene, and in the scene I have pink eye. I don't know how I got pink eye, but I have pink eye in the scene. So as soon as they finish shooting my close-up, Hackman comes over. He says, "Hey, kid, I hear they got Jimmy Walker on a plane." And if you've ever been in Baltimore Ravens Stadium, way down the stadium while he's in the echo chambers you're going in, I hear him just laughing his ass off. And so the next day that we work together, the Redneck shows up, and I'm like, "Jane, we didn't bring Jimmy Walker. Jimmy Walker is yet another Negro on this film. Now, I understand affirmative action, but I'm counting the players here. Got 62 players on the field, and 61 of them is African-American. Only the kicker. The kicker is the only white man here. Now, is that fair? Is that what the justice intended? I say no. Nay, I say nay." So that's kind of how all that stupidity began. And that's when I learned the first thing you should learn on any film with Keanu Reeves. And that is when they say don't hit the actors, they mean don't hit Keanu or Gene Hackman. They were lighting my black ass up.
I was wondering.
Every chance they got, somebody would hit me and I would get up out of the dirt. And the thing was, you already knew I wasn't going to catch the ball because it was scripted that I'm supposed to not catch the ball.
Right.
So do you really have to try and hit me like you trying to knock all the black off of me? Like, do we really have to pretend like you called my mama and she was like, no. Listen, I need a white son. Knock all the black off immediately. Like, what is that? And that's how I was getting hit, dude. I mean,
oh my God,
crazy. So that was a learning curve on that film. Faison Love and I looked at each other and we both realized that we needed to stick together. And he did not back me up. So that's all I can tell you about that.
Well, of course, Faison Love did.
No, he laughed at me. He did.
Wow,
Lando.
yeah. Hey, so let's dive in since we're talking about some of your movie roles.
I know where he's going to go with this. Go
let's
ahead.
talk about Dr. James Lee.
No.
I mean, come on, man. That's an iconic character.
Miles Davis.
Where was your inspiration from? Like, were you in band in school or anything? Or
my father coached at Florida A&M.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I apologize. My father coached at Florida State.
Oh, that's
wow.
a big difference.
Okay. My dad coached at Florida State. We lived in Tallahassee, but we spent a lot of time on the Florida A&M campus, obviously. So, I had a lot of time around, Dr. White down there and the Rattlers and show-style marching bands. My dad also coached at South Carolina State. So I grew up in the HBCU, historically Black college, show-style marching band tradition, right? Because my father was a coach in that environment. And my father went to an HBCU. He went to Alabama State. So for me, he represented, the excellence that was represented and put forth at that time, right? You need only look at music to realize that the Commodores and all of these bands of that era of incredible bands, Isley Brothers and the like, all came out of historically Black college and show-style marching bands. So you're talking about the very foundations of the music business, right? So to bring that tradition to life for me, I was happy to do it, and it was an honor to do it. And the story is that's Dallas Austin's life story.
Okay.
Dallas Austin's life story is that happened to him in high school. His brothers were all in the band, and he knew all of the cadences because his brothers had been playing them for years. And Dallas could read, he couldn't read music. He could play by ear. And so all of the things that are true of Nick are true of Dallas Austin. And so that's where the story came from. So it was really just trying to sort of round out, shall we say, what all of those people represented in the tradition of historically Black colleges, music and bands. And Dr. Lee was sort of my Miles Davis-esque composite, as it were. And really just trying to not make it. There's a film called An Officer and a Gentleman. And throughout the entire film, Louis Gossett is yelling at Richard Gere, calling him mayonnaise, mayonnaise. And it's a film of a particular era, right? Where authority figures rain down hellfire on you. And I didn't want Dr. Lee to be that because that didn't make sense to me. I didn't see young people feeling that way about a character who's raining hellfire down on them. I wanted to try and create a character that believed in integrity and believed in excellence, but made his own mistakes, was flawed, and was trying to, not lead by example, but to say, hey, I've made my own mistakes. I have no soapbox here. But as choices go, be smart about the ones you make. And so that was kind of my only desire with it, because otherwise the movie doesn't have a narrative on the band, off the band, drum battle. It doesn't really have a narrative that's satisfying to the viewer. And I thought that was a challenge of it. And that's what Dallas and I were talking about with the movie. And so I just thought that I could get Dr. Lee to give you that sense of that the movie was about something greater than its parts. And that's really, for me, where he came from and what part of the Dallas Austin story he was trying to occupy. And that was the part that was like, you should have learned to read music, but what you're doing is still brilliant. You're still gifted, and you're still worthy of mentorship. You're still worthy of being guided after you make the mistake. The mistake doesn't define you. It's how you manage after the mistake that ultimately defines you. And so that was
came across. It totally came across. Sorry, Janice.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I just wanted to ask, you talked a lot about other people that mentored you. I'm curious to know if you've had that opportunity to do that for someone else, or taken that opportunity, I guess. I'm sure you've had the opportunity.
I mean, I try to do that more as a practice and less as a privilege. So, you know, like we do Port City Comedy Jam here to give people time on stage and exposure and structure. So they're not walking into a show for the first time, never having been on a show with no understanding of what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, that's better than somebody lecturing you, right? So, you know, that show's now going on the road. We're going to do a show down at the Asher Theater in Myrtle Beach, November 26th and 27th. But comedians that came out of, you know, that's Port City Comedy Jam on the move. And so I look at that and you know, for me, watching those artists go from the first time I saw them to where they are now, they've made tremendous strides, right? And, you know, I've mentored the, you know, Nick Cannons and Zoe Saldana's on the world. Nick Cannon knew nothing about how to star in a movie when they handed him to me on Drumline. So, you know, but again, I'm not usually concerned about trying to mentor as much as I'm trying to create an environment that I believe we can all be successful in. And I think in that process, there might be some level of mentorship, but to be fair, that was the way the mentorship was taught to me. You know what I'm saying? Like Martin Landau didn't pull me aside and give me some long speech. You know, he was just like, yo, check this out. This is how the business used to be. This is how the business is. This is what you should do, right? Like Hackman didn't give me a speech. He was like, kid, I only act on the close-up because if you give them all those options and all those other takes, not only will you burn yourself out, when they get to this particular moment, they're going to use the close-up, not those other takes. So why would you waste your time putting it there?
It's very smart.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you,
Preach,
winner, for imparting that knowledge over a glass of wine just on some, I don't be doing that stuff. Listen, focus. You know what I mean? But that was the way he mentored, right? Hackman was not the kind of guy that was going to cuddle you up that way. But the stuff he taught me sitting around with me doing the Redneck of just you know, the way he used his body, the way he used his tone, you know, just, you know, stuff like that. The way he was unnecessarily annoyed about certain things and how not to get unnecessarily annoyed like him because I'm not Gene Hackman, right? But I feel like my mentoring has always been in that capacity because I've always received it in that capacity, and hopefully I've managed to pay it forward in a meaningful way. But I don't know. I hope so.
The JJ Walker line that he threw at you, I would have pissed my pants laughing. You know, dude, I don't know how the hell you kept it together with that.
I didn't. I laughed my ass off. Listen, it was a moment when we became friends, right? From that moment on, you know, we were laughing and giggling and ribbing each other, and I was reading his book and we were going out to dinner and, I introduced me to his wife. I spent a lot of time with Hackman. So it was a real blessing, the replacements for that time I got to spend. And also just the camaraderie that those particular guys had, even John Favreau and Rhys Ifans and, that was just a great group of guys. Michael Jace, a great group of humans on that one. Miss those guys.
Before I let you go, man, I do have one question. I mean, what the hell happened with American Gods? Because I got to tell you, man, I love the Nazi. I think, I just don't know what the hell happened. I would just,
egos do funny things, man. Sadly, the way that they conceived of that show was not for Anansi to be the star, but
you were phenomenal in that. I just want to tell you that because
I do.
Ed, you were unbelievably phenomenal, and I was just taken back that someone who has the ability to make me piss my pants laughing and all of a sudden come across with the character that you created with this was just, dude, I was blown away.
Well, and, thank you, man. This was just politics more than anything else. I mean, the scene that you have up right here, I wrote along with Rodney Barnes, and Rodney and I really worked together a lot on season 2. There were other, obviously, writers involved, but the real show running duties kind of fell to Rodney and I in the end, in terms of completing season 2 with the team that we had there. And frankly, the guy who came in to run the show season 3 was just intimidated by the fact that he wasn't going to be able to write Anansi, and having me there made him obviously feel some sort of way. So rather than invite me into the process, he fired me 8 days before I was supposed to go to work. And then the company refused to release me from my contract. And then the next thing you know, that scene that you just showed went viral. So it had this weird breakdown where I got fired, I believe, like on September 18th, 2019. That scene started to go viral like October 5th or 6th. By November, it had crossed into 15, 20 million views. By December, it had crossed over 40 million views across all platforms. And the studio and the network were all retweeting and reposting, and fans were going, oh my goodness, after the slave ship scene and this funeral home scene, we really do want to go follow this Anansi character in this show more. So people were sending me messages. My inbox was overrun with messages of people. I'm subscribing to Stars. I'm binging Anansi. But I've been fired since September. It's now December. And I'm like, okay, so you're selling subscriptions off of my work. You're transacting off of my work. You fired me already. You won't tell anybody you fired me. And you won't release me from my contract so I can go work elsewhere. So all of 2019, I wasn't allowed to work until SAG finally stepped in and was like, hey, this is ridiculous. They opened up an investigation and I was able to go to work finally in January of 2020. And all of that happened because I guess I did my job too good.
How dare you? What the hell's wrong with you, for God's sakes? Do I need to be the redneck? Listen, man, we got too many black people out here. That's what's going on. Can't you see what's happening?
Can't you see what's happening?
We need white man to play a black man.
The Nazi dude is angry. Get rid of this Denmark VC Negro immediately. He bringeth a revolution. He's in Wilmington where a coup d'etat already happened. They changed the name of Walter Reed to Longleaf Park. How dare him? How dare them? Apparently, the fictional God character of Anansi pissed a lot of people off. But I will say this, and to me, this is the funniest thing about it. I'm not amazed but I get a chuckle out of listening to those people talk about Anansi from this very Black context, right? Yet the people who love Anansi are every shade, every rainbow. They don't look at Anansi, oh, he's the Black God. He's only like, no one sees it. But the people talking to me
Right.
and controlling it completely see it in that way, right? And when I say they're playing the race card, they think that like you're calling them racist. I'm like, look, you don't understand. It's impossible for me to play the race card. I'm a Black guy. When you hired me to do the job of the Black God, you already knew I was Black. In fact, you wouldn't hire a Black guy you wouldn't hire a white guy for the job. The prerequisite was that I be Black. I will be clear. I did not have a bag and gloves on. I didn't show up and go, ha ha, it's God. You didn't know it, but this whole time I was a Negro. I didn't whip any card out that you did not see in advance, approve, put makeup on, get the lighting right, dress real fancy.
I auditioned for it. I didn't get it. I'm just letting you know.
You know what? I gotta say, it's clear these people are racist against white people. It's obvious.
Right.
It's
That's all I'm
clearly
saying.
obvious.
There it
The
is.
All I'm
white man
saying.
can't catch a break in this motherfucker.
And when they found out I was Greek on top of it, the world went to hell right there.
It's over, right?
They asked you where the Windex and duct tape was, and you said, "You racist sons of bitches."
That's it. No gyros for anyone.
This
Okay,
is
that's it.
over.
I'm done.
Tom Hanks' wife makes one movie, and you stereotype every bowl of hummus you see. How dare you?
It gets me emotional, to be quite honest with you.
I'm sorry, man. I got my falafels all in a bunch. I'm really sorry.
I always have.
Man, goodness gracious.
Wow.
So, yeah, all right, I know we're wrapping. I know, babes, I'm sorry to jump over you. I know we're
It's
wrapping
okay.
up. But, one more quick question. How did Make 7 Up Yours come about? How did that role come about?
I think my agent at the time at William Morris had called and asked me about if I was interested in doing some spokesperson work for 7-Up, and that they were trying to redo their image and appeal to a younger audience. And I was like, yeah, but my fear of it was I didn't want to, I'd been in the ad business before. I mean, and I was in it during that time. So I knew enough to know that what I didn't want to do is show up and have to do some lame copy because they paid me a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that unless I get some creative say. Otherwise, not so much. And he said, well, they want to meet with you. Okay, so I went and met with them. And I believe they tested me and Chris Tucker. I believe that it was only the two of us. And I believe that they decided that Chris Tucker scared white people. And after they made the Chris Tucker scares white people decision, Trolando, the friendly Negro, got the job. And after they met me and they realized I had ad experience, they were more comfortable. And that was that. I asked them about their point of sale data because they were very clear about where they wanted to be. They wanted to be in some high traffic areas, places where they had more shelf space. Those were the infrastructural problems that they were attempting to solve in order to increase distribution to sell more product. Mm-hmm. So with that data, I built them a campaign, essentially, that was targeted at talking to their problems so that when they put that content in front of the people at Ingalls and, Piggly Wiggly and and Safeway and the like. That's Niggly Wiggly if you're in a black neighborhood.
Now on the East Coast, they don't know about Ingles like we do.
Right,
I'm from
Ingles, they don't know. They don't know about none of this. Now, they got Aldi and and
Man,
Lowe's.
leave my Aldi alone, man. Don't mess with my Aldi.
I'm not listen, sir.
Don't mess with my Aldi.
I would never touch your Aldi. But
refer to as Aldi's. I'm just going to say. I'm just saying.
You know what? Listen, Aldi's. I'm sure you have Thug Life tattooed against your chest.
Matter of fact, hold on. Let me.
Aldi's, son. How gangster? That's super gangster.
You should see it.
Yeah, those commercials were brilliant, man. Make 7 up here. I thought they were just smart and just funny and just.
They're silly. It's Seymour Heine, like
right, exactly.
IP. It's silly, right? It's a 5-year-old's joke, and
hilarious. They were,
and that's all it was about. I don't know how brilliant I thought they were, but I knew a 5-year-old would get it, and.
I'm the biggest kid around, so yeah.
Look, me too. And then next thing I knew, kids were getting suspended, and we were banned from the Super Bowl. So so that's how that ended. I've been in some controversy unwittingly. So I'm telling you, I don't give offense, but they take it. I remember turning on Good Morning America, and Katie Couric was discussing whether or not, and she ran the entire ad. And she was asking the head of Ad Week if it was offensive.
Wow.
And I was like, at the time, I was like, fuck you, Katie Couric. Like, for real? Like, is make 7 Up yours offensive? Like, are you the person that's my mama just woke up this morning, and this is the bullshit I got to listen to for the rest of the day? For the rest of the day, boop, 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 boop. Orlando, I just saw Katie Couric on Good Morning America. Just finished watching her. It showed your whole commercial, the whole thing, with you walking down the street saying, make 7 up yours. That was you in front of the whole world. Up yours. That was you. Every 2 seconds. Up yours. Just couldn't stop saying it. Up yours. She asked that man if it was offensive. Now, did I need that phone call? I was so upset at Katie Couric. And then we got banned from the Super Bowl, but they were like, you can't be at halftime, but you can be in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter, but we won't air it at halftime.
Wow.
That's
wow.
So stupid.
That's crazy.
What the heck? That's
right? So that was that controversy. Look, I'm telling you, man.
You might have been the first to get canceled, bro. You might have been the first of cancel culture.
Multiple times. Listen, I got canceled by Bill Cosby. I got it.
So
I'm sick. Bill Cosby canceled me for making fun of him. I did a sketch of him on Mad TV where I play him as a drug dealer, teaching his kids that they make more money tax-free selling drugs than they ever could as a doctor, right? And it's like the blackest show that Cosby has ever done, and it's called Cosby's Crib. And it was to answer his critics who said his show was too white. So I get called down to the agency, and they say, Mr. Cosby wants to talk to you. And I walk into a room expecting to see Bill Cosby, and it's a speaker on a desk. And he says, and I look at the speaker, and then they all look at the speaker, and then I get it. So Mr. Cosby is on the speaker. And my job is to stand here and listen to whatever the fuck he has to say. Got it. Okay. So now I stand there, and I kind of cross my arms, and I do it because there's 3 really powerful white dudes in the room, and they got their arms crossed like they waiting to hear what Mr. Cosby's going to say. So I cross my arms so I can hear what Mr. Cosby's going to say. And he says, I would like to know. I've seen your sketch, and I want to know if you're making fun of me or the media. And I look at the 3 powerful white dudes in the room, and I think to myself, is this a trick question? I mean, the obvious answer is the media. Like, what the fuck? Why would I tell him I was making fun of him? Like, am I reading this right? And they don't. Their eyes are dead. They give me no love. It was like fucking robots and shit. So I was like, okay, this isn't working. And I say the media, and he says, okay. And then they were like, you can go. And then I said, all right. And then I left. And I was like, wait, did I just drive a half hour through traffic to come to my office, William Morris, to talk to a speakerphone, to ask me the dumbest question in the history of dumb questions, and then I say okay, and then they say, okay, you can go now. Did that shit really just happen? And then later, Bill Cosby got canceled, and then I realized I got canceled by Bill Cosby, and I felt special. That made my nipples super hard. I'll be honest. To answer your nipples erect question, that's the thing.
That's what did it.
Because nobody else that I know of right now can be like, I got canceled by Bill Cosby. So I'm, it just happened. It's like, suddenly it's freezing in here. It's so cold. So cold.
I got some Jello pudding pops right here.
You would like a Jello, and then I did him on Everybody Hates Chris. And that got me apparently in even more hot water because he didn't like that either. So, what am I going to do, man?
Yeah, dude.
Right, man. You and Eddie Murphy have that in common, at least beef with Bill Cosby, right?
Oh, yeah.
No. I got cussed out by Eddie Murphy, too.
Oh, shit.
Really?
Yep.
Do you have time to tell that?
I did him as a waiter on Mad TV. He was a waiter in a Chinese restaurant, and Spike Lee comes in. And Spike Lee is getting ready to direct the Eddie Murphy story. And Eddie starts auditioning at the table while Spike is trying to order dinner. And then he doesn't get the job because Spike has cast himself in the role of Eddie Murphy. No, I thought that shit was funny. That was me. I thought
that is great.
Okay, so I play Eddie Murphy, and Phil Lamar plays Spike Lee. He does brilliant Spike Lee, and I started doing all the bits. And there's a legendary story of David Spade doing Spade in America, obviously long after Mr. Murphy was gone. And there's a shooting star that happened, and David Spade goes, "Look, Eddie Murphy," Eddie Murphy saw it. Oh, he was like, "This mother has lost his and he calls Saturday Night Live, and he says, "I want to speak to David Spade." And David Spade does not return Eddie Murphy's call, so Eddie calls again, says, "Hey, tell David Spade this is Eddie Murphy and to call me back." And David Spade does not return Eddie Murphy's call. And Eddie calls again, and he says, "Tell David Spade that if he does not return Eddie Murphy's call, Eddie Murphy's next phone call is going to be to Lauren Michaels. And then Lauren Michaels is going to tell you, David Spade, to call Eddie Murphy back." So finally, he calls Eddie Murphy. And again, I wasn't there. I don't know. But rumor has it that he said, "I carried Saturday Night Live like a papoose on my back for 4 years. And you have the audacity to mock me on the show that I kept going during the time that they were talking about canceling that show." In the sketch on Mad TV, when I am playing Eddie Murphy, one of the lines I say to Spike Lee is, "I carried Saturday Night Live like a papoose on my back for 4 years. Call David Spade. Go, call him. Ask him."
Call David Spade.
And when the nutty professor comes out, Eddie Murphy will be back on top again, man.
Oh, shit.
And then he smacks his ass. And I was told that when Eddie Murphy heard that, he was not happy with Orlando Jones. And he called, and they were like, "We already had him down here on one speakerphone. You want us to bring him back?" Cosby just cussed him out same way he cussed him out. You want to bring him back? What do you want to do? And I told Eddie, was like, "No, I do not want to bring him back. There's a poor LGBTQ person on Santa Monica Boulevard. It's 4 a.m. in the morning that needs my help." And he rescued that poor soul and saved a life rather than attack me that day. And I thank you for all you do, Mr. Muffin.
Bravo. Hey man, I could talk to you forever. Do we have to end this? Do we have to end this, yo?
Oh man,
This has been incredible, man.
Hey Orlando, listen, I gotta tell you, I've had a lot of wonderful guests on our show.
Good.
None that made me laugh as hard as you did.
Thank you, sir. Listen,
spreading
joy is an important thing, right? It's the one thing. It's a gift. It's the one incredible gift I feel like God gave me, right? And I really try and put it to work, particularly during these times. So thank you, man. I'm always amazed when I manage to offend somebody because it's just so not who I am as a human being. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's so weird to have, it's so weird when people get mad at you when they're attacking you and then you start laughing at them and they get mad at you.
They get worse. They get even more pissed off, dude. Trust me. Been there, done it, seen it all.
Hey man, I'm not trying to attack you, bro. I'm not as a human attacking you. Like that shit is painful to me. Making you laugh, that shit is amazing to me. I'd much rather do that, even if I don't like you much.
Yeah.
I would still choose that.
Well, listen, I'd like to invite you anytime you want to come back. Let me see. Hold on for a second. You know what? Yeah, you're right. JR had to cue me in on something. Is there anything before we go? This is the longest interview I've ever done. So you're part of that history. No, are you kidding me, dude?
Hey, no, you made history.
You have no idea. We broke records, right?
To be honest with you, y'all kind of dominated the conversation and didn't let the lady have proper time. So I don't know how I feel about this.
Well, welcome to our little world, man. Janice.
You have no idea how horrible she treats us, man.
She's a slave driver. She's a slave. You know what? Your redneck coach would love Janice. You're right.
Listen, my mama raised me right. I'm on her side. I'm throwing y'all under the bus immediately. I don't even want you to get the impression I'm on your side because it's not like.
Is there anything you want? Is there anything you want to promote? Is there anything you want to talk about? Listen, any projects that you're doing right now?
Port City Comedy Jam 26th and 27th. We'll be down in Myrtle Beach. A couple of shows down there. I think they're going to be incredible. If you want to come down and get out of the house and come have some giggles, please do.
Can I participate one day and do a little set one day for y'all and see if I?
Hey, listen, man. I don't book that show. The producer does, but grab the producer and tell her you want to come down. Listen, she hasn't been in the habit of turning away people, so
I'll do
I don't know why not.
I'll do my thing.
I might even debut for the world. You know what I'm saying?
Mother of God, here we go. Mother of God. Okay.
Can I get some shine? Goodness gracious.
Listen, the affirmative action shouldn't be applied to everything, JR. Not everything. Just because he say he want to do it don't mean you got to jump in and do it.
Yeah. Why you got to jump in the white man's thing? Why you got to jump in the white man's thing?
Let him have this, okay? Please.
Gotcha.
I'll just stay in the background. And then after he bombs, then you can go. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't that a bitch? I'm going to bomb all of a sudden.
My man.
You know what I'm saying? Wait until he is down before you start kicking him. You kicking way up here. Keep your feet low, fool.
Orlando, I feel the love, man. I feel the love, my friend. Really?
I love it.
Shit, love like this, I can get in prison. Listen, I'm just
friends like this, who needs enemies, right?
Yeah, you got that right.
I'm completely joking, but no, but honestly, hit her up, man. I'm sure.
We'll make sure we find out where.
Listen,
and when.
we have a really diverse roster of comics. I will certainly say that there are all kinds represented. That is for sure. Which is one of the things I love about it. You get to really hear a diverse number of voices from this community that are legit, funny people. Like really funny people. So
is there a website that some of the people who are viewing right now may want to go to? Is there a website that you have for that?
Check out Port City Comedy Jam. Go to the page. You'll see it all there.
Okay.
We post a lot of stuff there. And obviously I'll post on my Instagram, The Orlando Jones, or my Twitter, The Orlando Jones, or I think my Facebook is the same thing. But usually it comes out of those places, and I'll do a little posting about it as well. But yeah, come check us out, man. Most of what we do is raising money for the Oops Foundation here in Wilmington, and just trying to focus on helping a lot of the at-risk youth that are in town, right?
Oh, there you go. It is the website right now.
Super funny.
And
This guy Charles Ozuna is hilarious. One of the comedians right there also does a number of. He started doing YouTube videos and stuff. Funny guy, man. Super funny guy.
That's awesome, man. That's what's up.
That's
And really
beautiful.
prolific writer. So yeah, great group of like comics there that come out and perform. So please come through and come laugh with us. It's a good time.
I would love that. And anytime you want to come on, I would love to have you back on.
Please.
You are truly one of my favorite guests I've ever had on, and also a great star. Thank you for being on with us on behalf of JR and Janice and myself. Orlando, you've been fantastic. Thank you so much for being part of this show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Janice. Thank you, JR.
Thank you very much.
God bless, man. Thank you.
God bless. Be well.
Thank you. Wow. Great, wonderful show. And what a special cat. And he's funny. And oh my God, that redneck coach just made me laugh.
Come on, man.
You and I played ball, right? So you can imagine, but having someone like Gene Hackman as a coach up there, that you're just laughing back and forth. I know we went long, folks, but that was one hell of a show. That just made me laugh.
Like sometimes,
very interesting.
Yeah, sometimes you just, if it's good conversation, you got to just let it roll, baby. You know?
Absolutely. And the thing is too, what I love too, he was discussing the thing between art, vision, what it is, what you're trying to convey, the message. And for a lot of the comedians that may have been watching, it's something that they have to understand. What exactly are you trying to portray while you're on stage? What kind of wallpaper, if you will, that he used, do you want to show? What does it mean? Is it just wallpaper, or is there something behind it? Is it more to it? And, I love stuff like that. I really do. And he's just one hell of an individual. And I gotta get with him, because I'll tell you what, he'd be a hell of a guy to have as a producer for film and shows and stuff like that. And I just love talent like that. Listen, okay. She goes, I almost wrecked 3 times. It goes, I was listening while I was driving.
Hey, thanks y'all for sticking around, everybody, man. I hope y'all enjoy that. The comments were great. We didn't get into them.
I know we didn't get to ask some of the questions, but
man, it was such a good
such a good vibe. And the questions that you asked were great. And Janice, my God, all the questions that were pouring out of you were
you didn't give me much opportunity, boys, let me tell you.
God, mother of God, here we go. Janice will be here forever. Remember that, forever. She is always going to be here. So is JR. Listen, so am I. Where the hell am I going? I'm named after the damn show. So.
We can't do it without you.
You can't have a pinch of Bob or George. You can have that, but you got to be in prison to get that. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, listen, on behalf of myself, JR, and Janice, this has been one hell of a show. Thank you all so much for watching or participating. This is Basil signing off. Good night, everybody. We'll see you again.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, y'all.